All right, let's talk Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus Detroit Lions. Listen, I should mention just off the top, just because I want to make sure everyone is clear, I am a Tampa Bay fan. So while I do my best to stay neutral here in my discussion about it, the reality is there's going to be some level of subconscious bias because I like a certain team. So Lions fans, I'm sure you'll think that, there'll be some people in the chat that'll assume that every single thing I say positive about the Buccaneers is due to that. But I'm going to do my best to be as neutral as possible. But let's have some fun and we're going to talk about Baker Mayfield and the Buccaneers offense taking on this Detroit Lions defense. If you look at the Pro Football Focus grades for certain positional categories for each of these teams, you see that there's actually a pretty big advantage for both teams here, one of them being a massive advantage. But first, let's talk about the passing. You see that Tampa Bay has 17th best passing and 20th best receiving, which isn't outstanding, but also should be mentioned has gotten better as the year has progressed, versus the Detroit Lions, who are currently at 27th in terms of coverage. And again, both teams have had their own injuries, right? Injuries are always going to be a factor that just have to be mentioned. But that being said, okay, that does seem to be an advantage Tampa Bay. And even the blocking is interesting, where, Tampa Bay 10th best pass blocking, whereas Detroit 19th best pass rush. Really, it's Aiden Hutchinson doing a lot of the work for Detroit. He's been amazing this season, but Tampa Bay has good tackles. Luke Goedeke, the right tackle, has emerged as a really good right tackle after having an awful season at guard, which wasn't his natural position. He was a tackle in college. They drafted him to be a guard. Didn't work out there, but it's been great at tackle. Of course, Tristan Wirf's another really good pass rusher really good offensive lineman for Tampa Bay in the tackle position. Interior, though, has some issues, which is why you see 29th run blocking and 32nd overall rushing unit. Tampa Bay is going up against the 4th best run defense. So, heading into the game against Philadelphia, you saw Tampa Bay come out passing. It seemed like they've kind of realized, hey, this is a matchup where we should throw the ball a lot. I have to imagine Tampa Bay at least should be doing that here. So my honest thought here is, hey, don't even try to throw the ball if you're Tampa Bay. But they're going to try to at times, and I think that's a massive advantage in Detroit's favor. But let's get into some film. We'll use the week 6 film here, as it was weird. I mean, it was Tampa Bay's 5th game of the season. It was Detroit's 6th game of the season. Lions were 4-1, the Bucs were 3-1. So it was long time ago, right? Detroit was missing a handful of starters in this game. Tampa Bay did not have their rhythm whatsoever, but still, there's some interesting things to look at watching the film. And also, hey, a great uniform matchup with the creamsicles. That's always fun to watch film when we're seeing creamsicles. Anyway, a play like this is how I think Tampa Bay will probably try to get a lot of their offense to go over the middle stuff. This is going to be Trey Palmer running a route over the middle. Watch as when this play begins. Excuse me, that's Godwin, not Palmer. But you see that, you are able to get, quite frankly, a huge window over the middle there. I do wonder if Tampa Bay is going to try and scheme stuff up. The Lions do like to play some zone coverage here and there. Linebacker screwed that up, which, again, isn't going to happen every time. But I do think that's an area that Tampa Bay is going to look to attack. Watch as Godwin makes the grab. Good tackle there to not allow him to get more yards. But still, there's potential for Tampa Bay to, work there and to try to scheme stuff up. Although, again, part of what can make that deadly is if you run the ball, you can get play actions going as well. They're not going to really run the ball that much in this game. And if they are, it's probably not going to be good. So that's, an area you can have success. But also, there is potential for Detroit, being able to stop it as well, of course. Heading over here, it's got to be mentioned, I think, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, you might think, oh, wow, Lions defense, okay, pretty big mismatch, for Tampa Bay with their receivers, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, right? Should be able to get guys open. Well, they did get guys open, but they only scored 6 points. This play was a 3rd and 12, and this was, something that's really, it was a real issue with Evans early on, and it was an issue in Philadelphia as well, or I guess against Philadelphia in Tampa. Watch as when Mayfield takes the snap, he is going to fire it in Mike Evans' direction, and you see Evans is open. Sutton's on him one-on-one. If they can get one-on-one matchups with Sutton on Evans, they should be throwing it there constantly. But here's the thing about Mike Evans. He's not going to catch this football, and that's just becoming, it's been a thing this season. For whatever reason, I remember his second year he dropped a bunch, and he is someone who will have the occasional drop every year, but this year's been an exception. He's had a handful of them. Not sure exactly what it is. Again, a lot of drops, last week against Philadelphia, and quite frankly, a little bit of it is on Baker Mayfield. He throws the ball very hard at times. This one wasn't on Mayfield, and the deep shot last week wasn't on Mayfield. But every now and then a drop can be on the quarterback when you throw it hard and not perfectly accurate. Sometimes it's people will blame the receiver always, but sometimes it's something where yes, the receiver should have got it, but could have been easier. But this one wasn't one of those. And, Tampa Bay, if they're going to move the ball, they can't have these. And again, they were still kind of trying to figure themselves out offensively at this point. But also going over here, for the Detroit Lions, I actually think they stand a chance when it comes to the secondary weapons. This is 3rd down and 9. Baker's going to try to throw it to Rachaad White. It's going to be a one-on-one matchup. Watch as when Mayfield takes the snap, you see, this is the matchup that they're going for here. And again, we talk about Evans and Godwin, but that Detroit is going to pay those guys attention, right? Like, that's kind of, the book is out. At this point, if you're not double teaming Mike Evans every play, what are you doing, really? Like, that's what you should be doing. So the other guys are going to have to come through. And as you see here, in that first game, the other guys just weren't coming through. That was a tough throw to make. That was good coverage, and they weren't able to make the tough play. It is what it is. So for Detroit, that's definitely a way that you can feel pretty good about potentially slowing down this unit. The other aspect is something like this, which these are two teams that especially with Tampa Bay, I would say Baker will put the ball in harm's way. He just will. And both of these units kind of thrive off of generating turnovers. That's kind of what they both do. They both given up yards this season defensively, but have also gotten turnovers. This situation, this is going to be Devin Tompkins here in a one-on-one matchup, and watch what's going to happen. Mayfield takes the snap. He looks over in that direction. And right here, is there a window? Well, it's 3rd and 3. Mayfield's just the kind of guy where he takes this chance, right? And it could be better or it could be worse. Sometimes it works out really well. Sometimes it doesn't work out very well. This time, there was a little bit of contact, but still, that could have ended up in an interception. And you have to think for Detroit, hey, if you get your hands on the ball, you got to catch it, right? That's going to be a huge way you can help limit this. So, again, first time, it was a great defensive performance for Detroit. And at the time, we were kind of thinking, oh, wow, does Detroit actually have something defensively? Well, predictions for this one, the Tampa Bay offensive points per drive and the Detroit defensive points per drive are actually pretty similar. Both are a bit on the high side. The Detroit Lions, have given up some points this season. They have, but it hasn't been a disaster. And the Buccaneers have scored some points, but it hasn't been amazing either. The previous matchup, it was a disaster for Tampa Bay, but like I said, they were still really figuring out what they were doing. They tried to run the ball a lot, which say what you want about Todd Bowles, he does tend to do a pretty good job at, adjusting and not making the same mistake twice. So I do expect them to come out throwing. And I think for the Lions, for them, it's just simply a matter of be able to take advantage of the opportunities when they come, which I think they can do. And at the end of the day, Tampa Bay has good tackles, but if Aiden Hutchinson knows it's probably not going to be a run coming, that could give him some opportunity to get some pressure and force Mayfield into a turnover or two. So I think it should be an interesting matchup, but I don't think it's going to go massive way in one or the other directions, really. I am predicting 1.9 points per drive in this game, right around what Tampa Bay has done all season. Again, it's weird because it's gotten a lot better as the season has progressed, but I do think Detroit kind of matches up well in terms of being able to stop the run, and I do think that at the end of the day, you can play two safety deep coverages, and you can find ways to force Mayfield to have to make some tight windows, and the Detroit Lions defense has gotten enough big plays to, I think, limit this unit. So yeah, those are my thoughts. Will that be enough to beat the Lions? Well, you'll have to stay tuned to part 2 of this video where I talk about the Lions, how they match up against the Buccaneers defense. So be on the lookout for that. But yeah, those are my thoughts. What are yours? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.